everyone, in this video we're going to draw the lowercase u. It's not quite a mirror of that lowercase n, so we'll talk about how that works. In our glyphs document, what we're going to do is we're going to open our lowercase n and our lowercase u. So it might be easiest to think that we're going to copy this lowercase n and just straight up paste it. We'll flip him once and flip him twice, and you'd imagine he'd be done. But there are a few things to note about how light works in typography. Similar to every single drawing you've drawn as a little kid or seen little kids draw, is that the light always comes up from the top. When we're drawing a picture of a landscape, the sun always sits really high. Which means when we look at letters like an N and a U, the U looks like an open cup that catches a lot of light, while the N looks like a shaded tree that casts a lot of shadow. Because of that, we need to make our U a little bit narrower than our N, so that optically they take up the same amount of space. So back in glyphs, the first thing I want to do is move this down to the baseline. When I pasted it and flipped it, he shifted to be on that baseline and not account for the overshoot, but now he's in the right spot. Time for a quick break in the content to ask if you're enjoying what you're watching and seeing, to please subscribe to the channel because that's the best way to support what's going on in this channel. If you're already subscribed, be sure to like the video, comment on it, and share it with somebody new. All right, back to the action. And when we look at this with the side bearings, we can see really quickly that this U looks a little bit wider than the N. We haven't changed anything. The only thing that's going on there is the amount of light that's coming into those letter forms. To combat this, what we'll do is we'll grab this little bit here and we'll just make it a little bit narrower. We can make it narrower by moving points around, by moving the shape over. We don't want to ruin too much of that shoulder over there. In fact, we might even want to move those points out a little bit to take up some of that volume. And we can even push these points down just a little bit to close up some of that gap down there. This will help us later in our lowercase a. Once we've narrowed them out a little bit more, what we're really looking for is that these two characters carry the same amount of light. It's not about a technical width, it's about an optical light. And by narrowing it down that much, it looks like it's done a pretty good job. So we'll go into our lowercase n again. We'll grab the serifs this time, the serif version, and we'll copy. We're going to copy all of this and we'll see what happens. Again, we'll go to the serif version of our U, we'll paste it. I'm going to mirror it both ways, and we'll set them on what would be the ground. Now, there are going to be some things that are a little strange about this lowercase u when we look at that preview or when we hold down spacebar to preview it. Namely, is that our serifs are in the wrong spot. Unlike our lowercase n, it doesn't just flip and spin. This is another reason why we want to do more than just mirror it. Similar to that upper left shoulder of our n, the serifs on the upper strokes of the lowercase u work just like that. So instead of having these double serifs, it really uses this one. So we've drawn them in, and we can go in and we'll flip this back around. So now that we have this serif in, we'll put him back to where he should belong. So I want to touch him to that X height and the other side of my U. And eventually we'll put this one with a similar narrower width as our sans serif, which we haven't done yet. So I'm going to grab this bar and double click to grab that serif down there. And I'm going to move these over until they match that underlying stroke. I'll also do that with this guy here, so a couple arrow keys over will get me lining up all the better. And now I might similarly match what was going on with my U. So we move some of these points over to take up some of that space down there. We move these points down to cover up some of that gap and open them up just a little bit more. And now, just like we did in our other characters, we're going to add some quick side bearings to it. So in our N, it's 56 on either side. So we'll add 56 and 56. We'll have to do the same thing with our sans serif version. Again, referencing our N, It won't be long before we memorize these. And it's 63 on either side, so we'll make sure that that's right. So now we have our U, which is a little bit narrower, and in our serif version, which I can tab through both of these, either one up here, we can see that that U looks more like what we're used to seeing. Those two upper serifs that shoot to the left, and that tail that's sort of up and to the right. If you've ever had problems before with your lowercase u, it's probably in the direction of those serifs. It's one of the reasons we want to dedicate this whole video to it.